Welcome back, everybody. Let's have a look at XRP then, shall we? A little bit of a secret guilty pleasure of mine that I've been paying more and more attention to actually these last few weeks, definitely. Maybe months actually, before the massive dump that happened in the whole of the world actually, so it's got nothing really specifically to do with XRP, but big dump that was. Anyway, so let's have a look at what's going on, see if we can chart this out, shall we? So, just a brief recap of this. I'll get out of the 4-hourly chart for the moment, and we'll just have a very brief recap of what's going on with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin dominates the market, you know, ups, downs, lefts, rights, all of it has got something to do with Bitcoin. So what's Bitcoin looking like it wants to do? So just very briefly going over it. Okay, so we've got an uptrend of support here, which is looking good, and we broke out of this downtrend of resistance, which is why we've launched from that 7,700. There's more reasons than that. 7,700 was a support and resistance for quite a long time throughout Bitcoin's last year, so there's more to it than just that. So just simplifying it, yeah, we broke out of there. So since that, we've created ourselves a new trend line, one to the up, and that trend line is support, which we're holding on quite nicely throughout the month of May. What I'm looking at here is perhaps maybe an opportunity for it to drop ever so slightly, and the only reason I say that, and when I say slightly, I don't mean it's going to come down to test this, not yet. The trend line is a decent upwards support, so there's plenty of opportunity for it to test this. I don't mean it's going to come down to these levels now, but it could quite easily come down to test it along the way. So that said, breaking beneath there would obviously be massively bearish, but the holding above there is probably a decent opportunity to trade, and definitely if we come down to test it and touch it, or even wick beneath it, as long as we close above it, definitely a good place to take a trade. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so it's not financial advice, you know the drill, but it's looking like it wants to be pretty bullish. Short term, perhaps a tiny pullback, and I'm only talking tiny. So let's just have a look at the reasons why I say that. The MACD hasn't yet made its cross, even though it's in bullish territory. Histogram is pretty much ready to make that cross, maybe tomorrow or the day after. The RSI is making lower lows, so that's telling me that it's basically consolidating, getting ready to make a big pop, but still maybe wants to come down a little bit further. And the stochastic RSI is just crossing as well on its way to the down, so I do think that we are looking for a bit of a downward move, not massively, but a little bit of a downward move, perhaps to the center of the Bollinger Band. We're talking about 9,350, or the 10 simple 9,200, or thereabouts. You know, no real reason to suggest it's going to come down to test this support at the moment, which would bring us all the way down to 8,850. So that's pretty low. Be a big move if that were to happen. So what I'm suggesting though, long term, and I'm talking not that long term, what this is going to take us up towards the end of the month, you know, we're going to get crushed into this little area. We're going to have to make a decision whether it's up or down. If it were to go to the up, it's a big deal, because this trend line that you're looking at here, it's basically a 2-year descending, so a resistance trend line. Breaking above that would be massively bullish, massively bullish. It would make last year's moves, it would dwarf them, I'd say, once we've broken above there and hold above there. But initially, when we do break above there, when we do break above there, it will cause a massive move all in one go. I'm talking one of those big, super big altcoin style moves that Bitcoin does. Anyway, you're not here to listen to me talk about Bitcoin. We want to hear about XRP. So this is the deal with Bitcoin. Perhaps a little bit move to the down, but overall, I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean that we can't lose several $100s before we make that big move. Let's look at XRP. So we'll leave the sats alone for the moment. We'll look specifically at the tether value. So what we see here, just a recap, we have one of our own descending trend lines, just like the one on Bitcoin, that lasted for 2 years, consolidating beneath this trend, being rejected from it massively every time we touch it, until we break above it, and we got one of those big moves that I'm talking about, that we saw, that I'm anticipating with Bitcoin. So that was a 23% move that we got breaking above there. Unfortunately, we were rejected and couldn't take it, so we came back down and we tested it as a support, and then we broke down beneath it, unfortunately, and then that whole situation happened, and we completely collapsed. Now we've built ourselves back up, and yes, again we broke above that descending trend line that we were stuck under for 2 years, and we made again another 20% move. Brilliant. And what's happening here? We haven't yet, well, we did come down to test it because we broke down from it. We came down to test it, but we've not broken down from it because there's not been any situation occur like there was last time. Now, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have broken down beneath here without the situation, because we had already broken down beneath it before the situation. Okay, so, but it was looking quite good because we could have formed ourselves a golden cross, but we didn't. So, shoulda, woulda, coulda, yada yada. So let's have a look at what's going on now. So actually we're looking quite good, because yes, it looks a little bit like a bit of a bull flag kind of style, and we've made some moves today, but it's still looking kind of a little bit floppy, not looking too strong as of yet. But the good thing is we only came down to test this on 2 days, and it's actually got so low now that it would be a big crash if we came down to test that again. So are we out of the woods yet? If we came down to test there, that's not out. It's not out of the realms of possibility. That'd be a drop of 23%. So it's not out of the realms of possibility at all. That could happen. Anything can happen, it's cryptocurrency, but at the moment it's not happened. It doesn't look like it wants to happen, but we're not making big bold moves. So we got the initial pump because we broke out of there, and we're consolidating from there. Now the thing that I want to bring your attention to is here on the 4 hourly. Okay, 4 hours looking very interesting. Okay, so again, this is the same chart on a 4 hourly, and broke out, came down to test, bit of a zigzag wiggle around, and what have we got here forming? Very, very soon it is a golden cross, and the MACD is looking pretty bullish too. The histogram's going slightly back into bullish territory on the 4 hourly, and we've got a nice divergence away from the 2. This might be a little bit of a problem. RSI is bumping its head around the top, which suggests that maybe there's a bit more room to go towards the up. Let's have a look at these indicators on the daily, and I think they'll tell you a slightly different story. So we've got plenty of room to move to the up on the RSI there, and we have ourselves a fresh cross just about to turn up into bullish territory above the 0 point. So XRP is actually looking really good to me, and it's at a very low level now overall, just in general, just almost 21 cent, between 20 to 21 cent. I like the look of it, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. I think it's been long forgotten about now, XRP, and I'm not saying that we're going to be making super massive great highs like our previous all-time high. I mean, when you look at this just in general, look at the state of that wick. That is a sickening looking wick on a daily chart. Okay, when we're talking about XRP, I would class our all-time high not at the top of this wick, but actually that's not even it. I mean, it was a lot bigger than that before. I'm talking underneath this descending trend line, where it started thereabouts, and I'm talking about 90 cent. If we get an XRP at 90 cent, that's a win. Okay, that's a win. I know a lot of people on the XRP army, as they called, and I'm not saying anything bad against you. I like XRP. I traded it on that massive parabolic top, and it was good to me. I like XRP. It's a strong project. It's got this love-hate relationship with people. There's no reason for people to think about it like that. It is just like anything else. It's a bunch of lines on a chart. It's a bit of money in your bank. That's all it is. And just think about it like that. There's no reason to fall in love with a digital token. Do you know what I mean? And I appreciate why people probably would, but personally, I'm trading it. I always trade it, and I trade it. It's probably one of my most traded assets, despite the chart looking like this, because it's got high liquidity, and to be honest with you, I've got reasonably high expectations for it in the long term. But anyway, I'm rambling. I always ramble on this one. So, just to recap, where are we going to go from here, just so we know? Okay, so there's a very strong chance that we could touch all the way up to about 22, maybe 22.2 cent, okay, which is where our daily 200 exponential moving average is right now. We could do that any minute, to be honest. But with Bitcoin looking like it wants to come down, I think that XRP wants to perhaps maybe come down. Where would we come back down to? I'd be very surprised to see us break below 20 cent at the moment, because this is where these lines are converging now on this 4 hourly impending, and there's no way you can get out of this. This will happen. This is going to be our golden cross on the 4 hourly, and it is only a 4 hourly, by the way, so it's not anything special. But it then goes on to the larger time frames. So the 4 hourly leads to the 12 hourly. The 12 hourly looks a little bit like this, which isn't very close to having a golden cross, but we are looking at okay out of it. We're above the 200 EMA on the 12 hourly. You know, if we can stay above there, we will get a golden cross over the period of the next couple of weeks, and that would lead to the daily, which is my favourite of all time frames to trade on, because I'm a busy guy and I can't be trading 5-minute charts like I used to. So basically that's it for XRP, looking like it wants to do some bullish moves, and we're above this descending trend, which is always a good sign because we've been consolidating beneath it for 2 years. So the golden cross on its way, plenty of room to be made on RSI. We have a nice fresh cross going into new bullish territory on the daily. I think this coin is probably going to surprise a lot of people. It's set up through my eyes. It's set up to do some decent moves now, and will probably have a much better year than it did last year, which was a terrible year for it because it was stuck beneath the descending trend. So now we're above it, and this could be the beginning of something new and amazing for XRP. Anyway, as Bitcoin looks to me like it wants to come down, XRP is going to come down with it. So that's all I've got to say about it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and take it easy.